everyone, and welcome to the Nuendo 13 preview. Thank you so much for joining. Today, I will be guiding you through the new unique features we have prepared for dialogue, immersive sound, ADR, and many more. So let's just dive into it. So we will start now with immersive sound, the first part of our presentation. And as you might know, Nuendo, since the beginning, has always been supportive of surround sound. In the year 2000, it started with surround 5.1. Then, as you might know, also we have in the last version the integration with Dolby Atmos, having an internal renderer integrated in Nuendo. And this time, we have an integration with MPEG-H audio. And this is done in conjunction with the Fraunhofer Research Institute. So, let's dive into the MPEG-H integration. In this case, I have a project with a video. I have different elements that create my ambience, and these elements are actually in different formats. So different formats meaning that one is 5.1, which is the sound design. Then I have my music in stereo, and this is all organized into folder tracks so that we can know what we're doing, and everything will be routed into groups on purpose. And that is because these channels that will be routed into groups will become beds. So, same as with Dolby Atmos, we can have also, because it's an immersive audio format, we can have beds and objects, and we can assign them as we wish. So in this case, in my project, I have 3 beds, which will be sound design, my music, and my height, which means that I'm planning to put this into the ceiling speakers, if you have ceiling speakers, or if you're into binaural, let's call it above the ear level of the user, the end user, so that people enjoying the content. And that's why I have a folder here called beds. All this is routed into just one bus. It's my master bus. In this case, it's a 714 bus. Those are my main elements of sound design, and then my voices will be treated a little bit different. And I'll explain why. I have 3 different dialogues. So let's say, what if I want to have these dialogues to turn into presets that the consumer can then change on their side? It will be shown on their screen, and I can predetermine what is interactive with the consumer. And that's what I will do with the voices. That's why the voices are not routed into beds, because they will become audio objects. So these 3 voices, this is one original, this English voiceover. Then I have the German voiceover and Spanish voiceover. How to connect this to the MPEG-H renderer? The MPEG-H renderer, as you might expect, is inserted into my main bus. If I open it, now the components are there, nothing is selected, I have not set any presets or anything like that. You might wonder how to connect the project with this renderer. And same as with the Dolby Atmos integration, you will go into Project, and you have to go into the ADM authoring window. It is here where you can connect the format that you want. So in this case, I will select MPEG-H, and this green dot tells me that it's connected. And you can see that my beds, in this case, these 3, and my objects, in this case, the voiceovers, are reflected as components into my renderer for MPEG-H audio. So now I'm ready to start doing presets for the end user. Let's say that you want to have one preset for English, another preset that will have the German voiceover, and another one that will have the Spanish voiceover, and the user can just simply select it at their convenience. So in order to do that, I'll go to the MPEG-H renderer into the presets section. Right now, there's no presets, and conveniently we have this thing here showing me an error, you can think about it as an assistant that will let you know what to do and will guide you through the process of connecting. So if I click there, it will tell me that this scene so far has no presets, which is true. So I'll go and just add a preset here. There you go. I have my components on the right, on the left side, and I can add the ones that I want the user to hear into the right side. In this case, I will start with this preset, and this will be my English preset, which is the original voice. I select the components and I add them. Now they have been added to the renderer, and if I press play, we will hear the original voice.
We ignore a lot of sounds unconsciously.
All right, so let's create more presets. Now I'm going to create a preset for another language. Click here, create a new preset, a description, I'll go and I'll create German. And in this case, I'll add all my sound design, but not the original voice. Instead, I'll add the German voice. If I can change preset now. If I change it, then
Ton ist immer an. Man nimmt ihn sogar wahr.
Now, third one for Spanish. We go here. I'll just name it Spanish. And I will add my sound design and, of course, the Spanish voiceover. And if I press play,
el sonido siempre está presente.
Spanish is there. Now, one of the main things why this format is so powerful is that it can add interactivity with the user. In this case, I added presets. So now we have 3 presets, 3 languages, but there's more. You can enable the user to have power over the gain of certain component. For example, let's say that I want, in the English version, I want the user to be able to turn down the volume of the dialogue. Just an example. So I can come here and I can enable user gain. This is preset based, so the German is not there. If I wanted to, I could also add it for the German presets. And each preset contains what you can predetermine into your project, and also contains the interactivity of the user, meaning that as an engineer, you also have the chance, for example, to have 2 different voices and automate the docking of the voice. So when the original voice comes and then the German comes, the voice over German comes, then the volume of the original one is down and you can listen to the German voice over. This is also something that's possible. So from the engineer side, you can create presets that have some automation unique for each one of them. On the user side, you can enable them to have control over the audio of the project. And this is one of the main things that makes MPEG-H so powerful. And of course, we have the panner for this. There's one setting here that is missing, and I'm seeing that I can only pan above, but MPEG-H can pan also below. So for that, which is a very important setting, we have to go to project setup. Please make sure it's in 48K, but also the 3D pan mode must be set to 3 layer. And now you can pan things also below. Now, if you have speakers in your floor, great, but this is also intended for binaural. And binaural meaning augmented reality, virtual reality, game audio, and of course content that can be enjoyed in headphones. So once you have that 3D layer enabled, now you can see that I can put things below the ear of the listener, which is something pretty nice to have. And this is something you can have per preset. So let's say you're happy with your presets, you have everything set. Of course, there's more you can do. There's a lot more, and we will have tutorials for this available for you. We'll also have a demo project that you will be able to try whenever you want. So I encourage you to try this at home. You can also download the demo of Nuendo and try everything. And if you are happy with this, then you can, for example, in the monitoring section, you can have down and up mixing, so you can know how the user will, the consumer will hear, will experience your mix. And this is very important. And this is one of the powers also of immersive audio. It adapts to the layout that the user or the consumer has. So if it's binaural, you can add binaural and just listen to it. If you have a studio with ceiling speakers and surround 714, for example, then you can also try that setting. In this case, let's say I want to have a binaural or stereo. The idea being you can monitor what they will experience right into Nuendo. And if you're all set with this, the next very important thing for the renderer to adapt to the speaker layout is that you have to measure the loudness of each component. So this is important so that the renderer knows how to reproduce this mix to different speaker layouts. Once you have the loudness, then you are ready to deliver. And another thing that is powerful about MPEG-H is that it's just one delivery file. In other formats, you probably will have to have a version, an immersive version for each language, for example, and deliver them. With MPEG-H, you have only one delivery file that contains all the preset information that you decide and all the interactivity with the consumer enjoying the mix you did in Nuendo. So once you measure the loudness, you basically select the part you want to be rendered into the file, and that's very important, and you are ready to export. You can export this mix into an ADM open format. If the client also wants, there's also some other formats that, for example, MPF is another one that's quite common. So you have different possibilities. You can select where the file will be placed and then just export it and you're ready to go. You have everything into one file containing the metadata ready to be played on any speaker layout. And that is the power of MPEG-H. Now, I also want to talk to you about a new thing we did for Atmos, because as in the previous version, we had the Atmos integration. Of course, we had some requests from our users, which is, they're always welcome. So I'm gonna open a project that is actually, in this case, right now, is a stereo project. And I want to take this stereo project into Atmos. And if you are familiar with the Nuendo 12 version, then you will know that same window, so project, ADM authoring, and over here I have Dolby Atmos selected. This is an internal renderer. If you have an external renderer, it's also possible to connect with it. And you have the setup assistant, which actually you also have on the MPEG-H renderer. You can also have Nuendo to assist you to quickly put everything into a renderer. Normally for MPEG-H, because there are so many components, this is not the best way to have it customized for the user, for the consumer. So Atmos is a little bit different. You don't have presets, and then with the setup assistant, you can easily create a project, and now we have support for 9.6. So we hear your features request, and it's as easy as this. I'm just gonna make it all into one bed, and now you can see that in the renderer, 9.6 is reflected as one of the formats supported. Talking about dialogue, we have a new feature called Voice Separator. As the name says, it's made for separating a dialogue or a voice from unwanted sounds. It could be maybe a background noise. It could be another voice that's in the background, just maybe hidden and you want to just take it out. With this plugin, you can basically isolate the dialogue from the ambience or any other sound that is probably unwanted. In this example, I have a dialogue and there's a river on the side, so I have some water sound that I want to remove. So let's hear the file, the original file that has the river on it.
Well, the test wasn't as difficult as I expected, and the meeting went well. Dr. Michael said that they were well impressed, and he's quite certain it's gonna...
So, let's separate the voice. In this case, I will insert this plugin in the channel. It is recommended, but it is recommended to use it as a direct offline process. If you have a powerful machine, you can have some instances, should be no problem. You go to restoration, and now you have voice separator. If I click there, now you can see I have only two parameters, dialogue and background. If I play this like without changing the parameters, it will be the same.
Well,
and now I can just take the background out.
Well, the test wasn't as difficult as I expected, and the meeting went well. Dr. Michael said that they were well impressed, and he's quite certain it's going to be a positive response.
And you can also take the background. So you can also extract ambiances from recordings that have been made on set, if you want to use it into other scenes, for example, or take the dialogue. In this case, I will take the dialogue. I will separate the dialogue from the background, and you could process this and just take it and leave it like that, or you can use also a new plugin that we have that's specially designed for dialogue and voice, and that plugin is called Vocal Chain. So if I type Vocal Chain, now I have it here, and as you can see, we have different sections. You have, for example, filters to just cut any frequencies that might be unwanted. You have gate, pitch, and a final section for sense. So you can have, for example, an imager, so a stereo field can be manipulated, and if you want, delay and reverb. So once you extracted the voice or the dialogue using voice separator, you can further process your voice using the new vocal chain in Nuendo. That takes me to the next new feature that's oriented towards dialogue, and that is tonal match. For that, I will open a project, and tonal match is intended to copy characteristics from one sound to another. In this case, I will concentrate on dialogue and on microphone recording. So I have a microphone recording I did with a small lavalier outside, so there's a little bit of ambience noise and it's not so clean or so perfectly captured, let's call it. And let's just hear how that sounds alone. This is my voice being recorded with a lavalier microphone outside the studio. So on purpose, I kind of emphasized the ambience because through the internet sometimes the ambience are kind of hard to hear. So you probably heard that there is some noise apart from the characteristic of the microphone. What if I want to apply these characteristics of these microphones of this microphone that was recorded on set, so outside a controlled studio environment, and I want to match another recording made actually in a studio with a condenser mic, with a high quality mic that sounds way better, and I want to just take the characteristics of one mic and just copy it to another. Now let's hear how the microphone, the good one, the condenser one, sounds by itself without any effect.
And this is my voice recorded with a condenser microphone.
So the process is like this. You need to select the reference file. My reference file will be this green event here. This is my lavalier mic recorded outside the studio. And for that, I go into Audio, Sound, References. Now, I can add this event as a reference. You can add multiple references if you want. So you can have a long list of sounds that you can match. And after you have your reference, this is intended to be used as a direct offline process. So it's not recommended to use it as an insert. I will select the event that I want to copy the characteristics to, and I will open into Audio the direct offline processing window. Over here, you can see that I have my reference file here, the lavalier mic, and I can then apply the characteristics of one microphone to the other. I can change the ambience to have full ambience or zero ambience if you want, and also the color of the microphone. So you have 3 parameters you can tweak, and then you can apply it, and you'll see the waveform changing accordingly. And that's it. So now, if I play this file, it will have some ambience from the original file, and also the characteristic is different.
And this is my voice recorded with a condenser microphone.
So there was some ambience over there, as you could notice. Now, what if you have a big ADR session? So a big session with multiple dialogues, and you want to apply this process many times. That's why we have the so-called pin process. And if you enable the pin process, then you can select all the files, and the same effect will be applied to all of them. And now you have your microphones from the ADR session to be matched according to another microphone that you want to match the characteristics. Normally, it will take some time to EQ it and to try to copy it, how to A/B them, all this process that probably you know already. With this new plugin, you're ready to go. Tonal matches characteristics of different microphones, and you can get creative also. So for sound design, I would recommend to try it. Now, another feature regarding dialogue, I'm going to open another project, and that feature is called Detect Silence. This is something that we had in previous versions, but now it's been improved. So let's say I have a dialogue, and in this case, they are talking in a church, so there's some ambience sound. Let's hear it.
Byron, you lucky blighter. She's gorgeous. I am, aren't I?
So, what if I want to take the dialogue and just remove the background, for example? I could go into Audio with the event selected, of course, and if I go to Advanced, I have a function that is called Detect Silence. You probably know it. It's auto-analyzing the file because I have this enabled here, and now the dialogue is being selected. I can audition the dialogue.
You lucky blighter.
And the new thing is right here in this section, the processing. So I could, for example, strip the silence or keep the silent segments. And in this case, I will keep them, and basically it will edit all the dialogue and select the silent parts. So if I do this, now you can see that the dialogue is being selected. I have now the ambience, and if I want, I can move it into another track to further process it. I can also use it into another scene, and also I have the dialogue completely separated. It had detected the silence, and it had separated my dialogue and my ambience. So now you can have more control over your different elements of your project. So now that we have covered the new dialogue editing features, we will cover another one that is related also to dialogue recording, and is a new feature on the ADR taker called ADR Script Reader. This will allow a talent or a director, is multi-user, so it could be both at the same time, to have access to my project, even changing the dialogue on their side, for example, on a tablet or on a computer, and it's done like this. If you go to the markers window, which is my main window for the dialogue, I have here my different languages, and I can here navigate through my project, and in settings, you have to sync selection. This will allow other devices to connect to my project, and once I have that setting, I can go into the studio menu and open the ADR Script Reader setup. It is here where I can either copy a URL to share it, let's say over the internet, and some people can connect in a computer. Another option, which is very convenient, you also have a QR code. So if you have a tablet, you just put the camera and then it will take you to the web page where I can grant access to the director and the talent to my Nuendo project, and they can actually change the dialogue, change the markers, change the markers that contain different languages, and even edit my file, play the project, and record as they wish. So let's take a look how this looks like. So we just saw how the voice actor could access my Nuendo project with a QR code and edit, record, playback, change the dialogue. And there's another use case. Let's say I have also a director or anybody who wants to be involved into the dialogue editing on my side into another device. This is a multi-user functionality. I could also, apart from the QR code, I can copy the URL and I can paste that into a browser. And that will take me, same as it happened with the artist, it will take me into the ADR Script Reader. If I want to edit, or let's say if the director wants to edit, because this is actually not part of Nuendo, it's just a browser, the editor inserts the pin number, and now it is connected. So the editor in a browser that has nothing to do with Nuendo, doesn't have to have Nuendo open in the computer, can select different languages, different dialogues, and also has the possibility to edit. So if I edit this, I can just say, yes, that's all right, and that will get reflected into my Nuendo project. So now I can see that here the word edit has been added, and of course it is embedded into my video as expected. So the artist can have interactivity, also the director, and even another person too is multi-user, and this is the way how multiple persons involved into the production can be synced in the same time with the audio engineer, with the voice talent, with the director, and whomever it might concern to be part of the session. I would also like to mention some new features that will become very handy for your different workflows. In this case, I will start with the new channel view we have prepared for you here on the left-hand side. And I'm just going to give you an example of how this could be used. Let's say you have a project with hundreds of tracks, and sometimes it could be hard to navigate. So when I enable this new channel view, I can select the channels having access to the most important parameters for your mix while still having access to the visibility. So I can navigate in my project and just whatever channel I want to select, whatever I want to process is going to be reflected on my left hand side in the new channel view. So now I can navigate things, my project even better. And if you don't need it, of course, it's customizable. You just click and take it out. Apart from that, another feature that has been improved in this version is the import track feature. So I'm gonna select import tracks from project. If you know this already, it will import tracks from any other project that you have in your computer, and I can select the project, and now I have the access to the tracks. This was already there, but the new thing is that, let's say I want to bring the ADR, I can have a destination track. So I can put those recordings into any track in my existing project. In this case, I'll just add it as a new track, so I don't mess with all my projects that I already have prepared. Another thing that's pretty cool is that you have the range. So you can select exactly which part of this project, which tracks, which sections will be imported into your tracks. You don't have to import the whole thing. You can import sections according to the range or according to the locators. And you can also import the automation and the channel and inspector settings. So all the settings you had in your project, including automation, effects, and all that will be imported in a new track or in an existing track. And of course, the files will be copied to your folder if you want it to your project. As a post-production audio engineer, you know the value of this. Importing tracks, selecting the region, having it into a project with automation and the insert ready to go. Another one that's also new and pretty cool is the video track versions. And for that, I will open another project, and that project will have different versions of a video. So let's say you're working for advertisement. I had a video here. I have done all the sound design. The client might want to have, let's say, 2 or 3 different versions of the same advertisement, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, just an example. So you can now have track versions on your video track, just as we have with the audio track. So let's say we have a video and we have another one that is shorter. So I'm just selecting the different versions, as you can see it here reflected. And in my project, because I have group editing enabled and everything is into one folder, I'm able to also go to track versions and just select the track version according to the video. So you can have track versions for the video files and adapt your sound design, dialogue, and all your audio to the new video file just in one project. And in this way, you're able to create multiple versions of that, in this case, advertisement, but of course it could be anything related with audio and video. So track versions for video, powerful function to have, and let's say that now you have to deliver the different videos. We have also expanded a possibility for the video export, and that is if I go to export, now I can export the video and replace the audio that is contained in the video. This means that if you get a file that maybe doesn't have the best audio and your job is to make the sound design, the music, and the dialogue you can easily replace the audio of such video for delivering and also for revising purposes. So it's super easy now to just replace the audio of an existing video, and you can export it and deliver it for revision and hopefully approval. This was the Nuendo 13 preview. Thank you so much for joining. And as today, Nuendo 13 is available for you to start enjoying these new features. See you around.